Good day, my friends. Today we're in the garage because it has been absolutely stormy and downpouring. So back the first gen Tacoma up in here, and I want to add a modification today that is going to alleviate my biggest complaint about this setup while we were out in Colorado, and that is no other than what do I do with the dang fishing pole? Obviously I've got 3 right now in here, but I have an idea, and I'll kind of talk you through what I was thinking before I landed on this modification, because I think this one is going to be the least expensive. It's going to be the easiest to do. It's going to add the least amount of bulk to the outside of the truck, and but I want to explain where my thought process went when I was thinking about building a fishing rod holder setup. Initially, I was hopping on the YouTubes and the interwebs trying to figure out how to make a fishing rod holder. I was gonna build one of those PVC rod tubes that would either mount to the outside of the GFC here or up on top of the new DIY roof rack bars on the GFC. The issue with that is, in order to fit, well, you guys will understand, in order to fit an entire fishing rod that doesn't break down, it would have to be at least 6 feet long, and then it would have to be about a 6-inch round piece of PVC, which is, once it's in your hands, you realize it's a lot bulkier than you would otherwise think. And I could have done like a 2-inch PVC, but I would have had to take the reel off every time. But you could take like 6-inch PVC, add it, mount it to the side here, which would then add 6 inches of bulk this way. Or if I put it on the top of the truck, it would sit on top of the roof rack, which is already 2 inches higher than the truck. So now we're talking 8 inches on top, which I hate adding more height to this thing, because then I can't get into like parking garages, drive-throughs. It's just kind of an extra thing you got to remember that is on the top of the truck. And then not to mention I had to buy it in like a 10-foot section of PVC is about $30. Plus you got to buy the clamps to mount it in some fashion. So that's probably an extra 20 bucks there, plus black paint, because I don't want white PVC tube on the side of my truck. That's probably another 10 to 15 bucks with a can of primer. And all that being, oh, and then you have to add, if it's going to be on the outside of the truck, you got to add end caps with an ability to lock them, because obviously you don't want people snagging your fishing rods. So all said and done, it was going to cost me about 80 to 100 bucks, depending on what kit I decided to buy, especially for the locking caps. So I have a better idea, or at least I hope so. So I went to the trusty old Harbor Freight and found these, which are technically called rubber tool clamps. They like have an illustration of it holding your shovel. But I was thinking, because they have little, hard to see, but mounting holes. Oh, I was pointing it the wrong way. Definitely hard to see. They've got like, probably still hard to see. They've got holes on the bottom, which I may have to drill out bigger, but here's my thought process. The GFC has on both sides, bottom and top, as well as some on the front here, these factory bolt holes, which are designed to have like act as gear tie downs. So what I'm thinking is taking these and mounting them like so, and then being able to run my fishing rod through it, which, if you guys have been keeping up with the videos, I got something to show you. Let me get these out. This is actually Morgan's fishing rod. Whoop. Last summer, I was kayak fishing out in a bay near my house, and I actually had pretty much this exact pole here, rod and reel setup. It's a Fluger. It wasn't, this is a Fluger Try-On, but it definitely wasn't a Try-On. It was, I had that fishing rod for years, like a decade. And I had it sitting out of the back of my kayak, was paddling along, turned around, no more fishing rod. Some way or another, the wake of rocking the kayak as well as me paddling, I didn't notice it, but the rod slipped out of its rod holder and went down to the bottom of the lake. So last summer, I angrily ran over to Bass Pro Shops and picked up this rod. This is a Bass Pro Shops branded Fish Eagle rod, and then a Daiwa rod. It's a reel. This reel I've had for probably 2 decades now. It's really old, but it works just fine. So I basically put my old reel on this new rod. This rod is a 6.5 foot rod, one piece. And that was my mistake. I went to go put it in the truck and realized because I have a 6 foot bed, it's too long. So I've always been like kitty quartering it or like putting it upwards or something along those lines. And it's just a huge pain. Not that it's a bad rod, just a huge pain that it's a one piece. Whereas before I was so used to the Fluger, which is actually a 2-piece rod. So what I usually do is just reel it up like that, take it apart, pull the slack out, and then I usually add, which I'm gonna do to this one, I add some Velcro around here so that way it stays kind of all put together with the 2 pieces. But obviously this is a lot easier to store than a 6.5 foot fishing rod. By the way, this is also a 6.5 foot rod, but with it being a 2-piece, obviously breaks down. So my hope is that I can slip this into here and basically hold it on the side of the truck so it's up out of the way. It's in these nice rubber housings, so I don't have to worry about the rod getting damaged because it's surrounded by rubber. And I think it's just gonna make storing the fishing setup a lot easier. And then this rod I'll bring out on occasion if I need it, if somebody else needs it. But I think these for $2.99 each might be exactly what I need. So without further ado, I'm gonna crack these open and get them installed onto the GFC. Now on the GFC V2 Pro, they actually made the holes on the GFC bigger. So I'm using a 5/16 by 18 pitch for thread pitch, whatever you want to call it. And then these are, I want to say, inch long bolts. I am a little concerned that it's not going to allow me to put these in all the way. So I may need to actually go out and get some longer hardware. But my thought process is I may have to drill this hole out. You probably can't see it. I may have to drill this hole out here to be bigger because obviously this isn't going to go, but I'm going to try and just start putting it in and see if it will wiggle itself in there. Actually, I can already tell you the answer to that is no, because this is hard plastic here, and that is definitely not going to work. So I'm going to have to drill this out and then possibly drill this hole out a bit more to be able to get this to work. Even after I drilled out the hole, I was able to get the bolt all the way through, but there's just not enough thread. I don't know if you can see that. There's not enough thread coming through this thing to actually grab onto the GFC. So I'm gonna try a bolt that is about twice as long. I don't know if this thing actually autofocuses the best. However, it might be a little too long. So I've tried adding a couple washers onto it to see if that's gonna help. But now I'm just gonna rinse, repeat, feed this thing through. And that's about how much thread we're gonna have going through there. So that might be way too much. And I may reluctantly have to go make a trip to the hardware store to pick up new bolts, but I'm gonna see. Keep my fingers crossed because I don't really feel like going out to the hardware store. Okay, so that's kind of how we're sitting now. Might be way too long, but let's see if I can get it to work. My gosh, we might just be in luck, I think. That feels like it's on there nice and snug. Woohoo! Okay, now that we've got both clamps on, I'm gonna add just a piece of Velcro. Probably replace this with some better stuff, but I just found this laying around. And I usually just keep it on the fishing rod all the time. And then when I break it apart to travel with it, I just wrap it around like so. And then that kind of keeps everything mostly situated, at least from like flopping around a ton. So now I can see if this is gonna work, although I can already see a problem that I might run into. I was going to hope I could maybe from the back slip it in, but I think because of the mount that's over here that actually attaches the GSC to the truck bed, it's probably gonna be in the way. So what I may have to do is actually use these little, I don't know what you call them, tethers, we'll call them tethers, and manually kind of put the rod in like there and then hook it on just like that. There you go. Rod holder achieved. I may add more Velcro. No, this will be fun. This will definitely be fun. And broken down, it's perfect in size. It doesn't hit the mounts here. The only thing I was thinking is I may rotate these so that way the ratchet little strap is on top, so it's just easier to maybe crank down. Might see what that's like. So if I were to rotate it like this, then it might just be easier to get access to. So if we put this back in here, and then I would say, yeah, it's probably just a lot easier to get to it than it is having it down below like that. So I'm gonna rotate this one as well. And I'm gonna go back and tighten these bolts a little bit, but just like that. And then there's multiple levels of adjustment. So we can crimp it all the way down, and there you go, folks. Rod holder. And then the eyelids on the fishing pole keep it from, sliding around too much. But regardless, I think it's gonna be nice and tucked out of the way. And this side of the truck bed never gets used for anything, so it's perfect. So I just went back and tightened my bolts up since I wiggled these around. And because I'm curious, and if some of you plan on doing this modification, I want to have this answered already for you. But I'm curious if, oh geez, I need a little stool here. I'm curious if 2 rods will fit in here. So I have another 2-piece rod. I'm not going to bother putting the Velcro on it, but we'll spool up the, oh, come on. Just kind of spool up the slack there. And moment of truth, if you were, let's say, traveling with a friend, or like a lot of you just carry more than 1 rod. It does in fact hold 2 2-piece rods. And you could argue that the rubber, kind of fully protects them in a soft shell. No, I guess not fully. Obviously, if gear were to hit here, that would be a weak point. But I think to have like 2-piece rods, this is a gangster setup for the inside of a GFC. Utilizing the existing mounting holes, some brackets from Harbor Freight for $2.99 each, and then some hardware that I just had laying around. Like, all said and done. And you can clamp this down even further. And that is very snug. And I would feel pretty good about traveling with 2 rods back here. I think I would be willing to bet you could probably fit a 3rd. Yeah, to be honest with you, you could probably fit more in these, but I usually travel with 1, and if I needed to travel with 2, it could be done. So that is so much better than spending an entire weekend and $100 building a PVC rod tube that I would have to lock and open up and unlock every time I needed to grab my fishing rods that were on the outside of the truck. So lightweight, cheap, doesn't require a lock because it's inside of the truck cap, which has 6 locks on it. And I don't know. That worked out way better than I was thinking it would. Sweet. And now for my final trick. I just want to make sure that my kayak isn't going to hit the fishing pole, because when I'm fishing around town, I'll usually just slide this in here. Boom. Yeah, if I'm going around town, I usually just slide this in here. If it's just me with one kayak, I'll shut this, bungee strap this thing this way, but check it out. Even with the kayak in here, it's not tall enough to hit the fishing rod, and the wheel well right there keeps it from sliding over this way. So the rod is up high enough and over far enough that I don't really need to worry about it getting hit or damaged or any of that sort. So what a sweet setup for fishing now. That is like, if I had that 2-piece rod for Colorado, that would have been so nice, because you can store a 2-piece rod in such smaller places than a 1-piece 6.5-foot rod. And but now with these little mounts, I'm so stoked on that. That actually turned out way better than I was expecting. Because I'm a complete fishing / DIY nut job, this is the cheapest kayak I could buy. I bought it last summer after my inflatable kayak popped, inevitably. And this was the cheapest one I think I could find anywhere besides the little kids kayak at Walmart. I picked this one up. It's a Quest something, and found this at Dick's Sporting Goods for like $1.80 at the time, and was definitely the cheapest one. But show you guys how I have it set up. I've added a few things, made some modifications, but this is pretty much how I have it set up most of the time. So tackle box goes up front here. That way I can easily just lean forward and grab it. I hate doing the reach around the back thing, but I do keep a cooler, soft-sided cooler back here. And then this one came with these bungees, which will break at some point, and I'll have to figure out another way to strap it down, but that's how it works for now. And then paddle holder is just right here, just hooks on like that. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Using the cheapest paddle, it actually came with my inflatable kayak, and I've had it for like 7 to 8 years now, and it's still going strong. Definitely needs to be upgraded. Some stuff that I've upgraded on the kayak are, after my little fishing pole incident where my rod fell out, I used to do like a PVC rod holder thing, and it just totally slipped out while I was paddling. So I added this one, which kind of like, you can buy these at like Academy Sports or anywhere really, but it just, you cut the hole for it, and then you use some silicone and then bolt it down, and it keeps the rod nice and sturdy and drops it in a good 8 to 10 inches, I would say. So really good for like trolling a line. And then outside of that, I also added this little cleat right here next to it, and then took some paracord and braided up this little rod leash. So what I do is I take this and I wrap it around the actual fishing rod, and then if I'm gonna like troll for a while, troll some line, I will unhook it from the carabiner, or sorry, I will take this, attach it to the rod, and then attach this to the carabiner, drop this in here, and then I can troll around without, if I get some massive fish, it's not gonna rip my pole out, and that works out really well. And then up front, that's where I keep my cheapy life vest, because, safety third. And then, but that's really the setup. It works super well. I think eventually I'd like to add a second rod holder to the other side, just in case I want to bring 2 different rods out. It's nice to not have to reset up your gear. So like right now I have a frog on this one, and then maybe the other one I just do like a standard worm with a Texas rig type deal. But I have this cup holder that got as a present, and I just don't know where to put it. Like, it's got this little threaded piece on the bottom, so I could like thread it in here, but when we travel with 2 kayaks, this would be sitting on top, and then would kind of make things a little bit tricky for setting kayaks on top of each other. And then it also comes with this little like double-sided piece here, which you could then screw the cup holder onto. So I was thinking like find a nice, I don't know, there's not much that's flat within reach of the kayaker. I could maybe put it just down here, but then this gets so dirty and like water, I'd be worried that the sticky tape would eventually come off. So if you guys have any ideas of where I can mount this thing, let me know. Again, was possibly gonna put it here, but then it doesn't sit flat or flush to use the sticky part. I guess what I could do is drill a hole, and then when I want to use the cup holder, put this on with like a wing nut underneath, so that way if we were traveling with a second kayak, I could just unscrew the wing nut and quickly take this off. But yeah, let me know down in the comments where I should mount this cup holder. Otherwise, I guess I could go behind. That's pretty flat, but I just, again, hate reaching behind me to grab stuff. It's kind of annoying. So I try and keep everything in front of me. But I have to say the highlight of today is how stoked I am at how this came out. This is exactly what I was hoping for. Just a nice, cheap DIY option. Don't have to drill any holes into anything. I can fit up to 2, maybe 3 rods right here if I'm, needing to do that. Oh, I'm just so stoked. I love when things work out the way they're going in my mind. So, bit of a quick video today, but what can I say? I mean, it just didn't take long to do the modification. So, I mean, less content for you because things didn't go terribly, and but easier for me because things didn't go terribly, and it all just worked out as I was hoping it would. So if you have a GFC, and by the way, even if you don't have the V2 Pro, your GFC should still have the same mounting holes. I think they're just a smaller bolt that fits into them. With the V2 Pro, GFC decided to make it a bigger bolt for whatever reason or another, and you'll just have to get the right thread pitch, but easy little clamps from Harbor Freight. Again, probably spent $7 after tax total for this between the 2 clamps and the hardware. As always, I'll try and leave a link in the description to like probably an Amazon alternative to those clamps, because I'm sure you can find them there as well. That way, if you don't have a Harbor Freight near you or they're out of stock or whatever, you can still order them. So I'll leave a link down in the description to those style clamps that I used. And with that being said, leave a comment down below what you thought of today's video, what you think of the fishing rod holder, perhaps what you would do different. And if I didn't already say it, leave a thumbs up. If you're new here, think about subscribing. Also, comment down below where you're watching from. Always like to find out. I think it's so cool. You get people from like South Africa, Asia, all over Europe. I love to find out where, and here locally in the United States. Let me know where you're watching from. And with that being said, I will see you in the next one, my friends. Keep elevating. I love you all. Adios.